button.
We're live now? Hello?
We may be live.
Hello?
It's a 50-50, but now the probability's rising.
It's up to YouTube.
Just like
what if we get monetized?
my dick. Not anymore. No more monetized. Guys, so glad you could join us. Welcome back to episode 112 of the Joe Rogan Experience. We've got a powerful JRE in store tonight. I hope you can take it because we got truth bombs. We got 9/11. We were just discussing, like learned gentlemen, about it's a kind of unresolved matter. I think Skippy has some more to say about it than I do.
I just want them to ask the questions.
So yeah, if it's not obvious, it's been a long time since we did a podcast, and I'm sorry, that's all on me. I've been watching whole lot of pregnant Elsa injection videos. The playlist just ran out, so I'm just sort of getting back in the swing of things. But you know, it's good to be back. Elsa has promised to get an abortion, and I think we can all move on.
You've really started our comeback in a really positive way.
Real strong, yeah. real posy vibes.
Thanks for that.
Well, this is a podcast about video games and about media and about our hot
about 9/11
steamy takes on terrorism. This is a politics podcast now. That's what actually we've been discussing.
What isn't these days?
We've been wanting to do a kind of like whatever our we're like gonna be the new, what do you call them, like pundits?
Sargon of Akkad.
Yeah, we're gonna do a Sargon of Akkad thing, and we'll have lots of like, I like free speech. Do you like free speech?
Nah, take it or leave it.
I'm more meh on free speech.
Yeah,
more of a meh.
I want to see both sides. You know, the free speech people and the nobody can do anything, say anything.
Hey, you know, on the one hand, one side has merits, and on the other hand,
exactly,
the other side has merits too.
You know what they call you? They call you the Ben Shapiro of video games.
God damn it!
That's what they call you. So I don't know what I am, but
Skippy,
we've got him here, folks.
Epically pwns, gamer on college campus.
Gamer cuck.
So
gets destroyed.
Okay. Real talk. It has been a long time doing the podcast again. We are back in it. It's going to be bi-weekly from now on. None of this every week shit. We don't want to spoil you. We don't want to give you the wrong idea that you're like all that. So what we're going to do is do it every 2 weeks. We figure that makes more sense. I mean, we both.
I wasn't going to commit to that. I was just going to say, like,
that's a promise.
Maybe 2 weeks.
A promise
maybe
from Skippy's mouth.
6 weeks.
He just promised. He said it, not me. I don't mean that.
Okay.
Guys, welcome to the show. Been a while, so I got a lot of video games to talk about. I'm sure you do too, or something. A lot of something.
I think I have video games to talk about. I haven't really thought about it much.
Well, I do.
I got Zelda.
Oh yeah. So, last we were talking, you had like just recently got a Switch.
Yeah, and I got Zelda, and I actually haven't played it in the last like 2 or 3 weeks, really. But I've gotten not that far into it, to be honest. I've done one of the temples, and none of the other ones.
Which one did you go to first? That's always an interesting. The water one with the elephant.
Yes,
that's probably my favorite designed dungeon in that game. The elephant.
Well, now I've seen it, so.
Oh, you're not there yet.
Like Mario.
You're in the
No, I completed it. I completed the water temple.
What do you mean you haven't seen it then?
No, I said I've already seen it, and that's it. I don't need to see anything else.
Truth be told, the game is the best at the beginning. I mean, we talked about it before when I was playing it, but the wonder that you get just walking around the world that big and climbing things and gliding, that is strongest at the start for sure.
Yeah, I've already gotten over Kurok seeds. Like, I found enough of them, and they don't excite me anymore.
Yeah, there's only like half a dozen different objectives that you do for them. For the most part, you're like, okay, there's a rock that's missing from this circle of rocks, so I'll put one of the rocks in the circle. Or you shoot a target, or one of the statues is not holding an apple, give it an apple. The Korok seeds really just feel like a distraction, or like,
I mean, not to just go ahead and focus on the few negative things about that game, but the Korok seeds feel very Ubisoft to me, like very just like scatter this shit across the world, and you get tired of doing it, and there's so many of them, you stop caring about it anyway, and like it just feels like that of all the things in that game, that feels like the least inspired bit. But it's also not important at all. Like you can just not do them basically. But
I mean, the reward for getting them all is a literal piece of shit.
Well,
if you get every Korok seed in the game, which is like 900, which is insane, and no one should ever do it, then you get a golden piece of shit from.
You get a turd.
Yes, it's a big gold, like a big ice cream emoji poop.
That's
swirly.
Appropriate.
Yeah, it really is. Because, it's almost like, don't even bother. Some people did, though. I
don't know how people were 100%ing that game. It's so ridiculous.
And it's not just because of how long it would take. It's just the mind-numbing hunt for all those Korok seeds.
I mean, it's a fun game, but... Yeah.
Like, it's a fun game.
Running it. People are 100% speedrunning that game, too.
God.
I think it takes like 40-something hours.
Including the Korok seeds, I guess if it is 100%, they are including that. But
yep, every single bit of the game. Do you imagine?
No, I really can't. I really can't imagine ever sitting through having to do that.
They need to start that at the beginning of the next speedrunning event, GDQ or whatever. And
how long does it
just
take?
Have that like as a side stream. And then
I don't know the whole time.
I think it's literally like 40 plus hours or something. And then have that guy going alongside and just takes the whole event to get through.
That sounds
cool.
Great. They should definitely do that.
They should. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing to say about Zelda that other people haven't said already. It's a good game. It's very impressive. And I don't think that well, I think this is also what people have been saying. It doesn't exactly rewrite the book, but it sets the bar so high as far as just like polishing every aspect of your game's design, that I hope it improves the genre, because most open world games in general, but especially open world RPGs, are focused on maybe one or two things, and then everything else kind of goes by the wayside. Even my favorite ones, even Witcher 3, you got the story, and I would argue like the world design, like the world believability and graphics and all that stuff, and then like gameplay and stuff that kind of just goes to the side and is like more of a secondary thing. But Zelda does not do that. And although Zelda doesn't really tell them that much of a story, but still.
Witcher even has that feeling where it's like the mode switches, and now you're in combat mode, and whatever big world you were in has now gotten smaller, and you're in like a little. You're kind of locked circling people. Not locked. You can run away or leave if you want, but it doesn't feel like a seamless transition from exploration to combat. And Breath of the Wild does have that. Like you can be gliding hundreds of miles up in the air, and then see a little fox down below you, and you can just drop all the way down and stab it. Like it's really impressive. The traversal of the open world and how big the open world feels are probably its most impressive points to me.
Yeah.
But dude, you gotta get Odyssey. Like that's the system seller, for real.
So would you say that that's more of a system seller than Zelda?
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising to me. Because it looks good, but in the end, it's like I love Mario games. Don't get me wrong, but they're literally just platforming games. They're cute and fun, but not like I've never considered a Mario game like a must play. Like it's just kind of a fun little platforming thing to me. It's really well done. That's it. What's that's Odyssey apart?
I guess that part of it is I really like platforming games. So
okay,
that's one thing, but it's also the amount of content and how triumphant it feels. I don't know how else to say that, but that whole scene, I'm sure you've seen it by now. It's in the trailers. the snappy little jump up superstar song, and then Mario's going through like the 2D city, and then he climbs the Empire State Building or whatever.
Someone in chat asked a question that I was about to ask, which is the comparison of moons to Kurok seeds. Like you're talking about the triumphant feeling, but it seems to me like moons are so common that you don't get that feeling.
Totally unfair comparison. Totally unfair. So, okay. There's a couple ways to look at that. I guess we can get, right into the nitty-gritty of it. People have criticized the balance of the moons in Super Mario Odyssey. In total, I think there's like 850 that you can collect through the game that are like preset locations and designed challenges. And then on top of that, if you get 100 coins, yellow coins, you can buy a moon. So it takes 500 moons to get like the real ending. Beyond that, you don't really need anymore. Like, all you get for getting all the moons is a slightly more difficult fight against Bowser. The Ultra Challenge area, the hardest thing in the game, you unlock that at 500 moons. So 500 moons is what you're shooting for. And so, one, it always feels like you're moving toward a goal that is more important than the moons in themselves. Also, I think it's important to separate the gameplay of Mario Odyssey from the reward of getting the moons. The platforming gameplay is just inherently rewarding. It's so fun to perform moment to moment, and it doesn't really matter to me how easy it is to get moons, because you could just grind out coins and buy moons if you really wanted to, but it's more just having an excuse to platform. And the platforming moveset in Mario Odyssey, it just feels so good. Like, physically, to play, it's a rare kind of gameplay experience where it gives you a powerful moveset that you can do a lot with, and you're always finding new things to do with it too, like hat throwing and diving and canceling. That is so fun, and it feels like there's actually like a high skill ceiling to what you can do in the game. And it becomes even less about, am I collecting moons and stuff? You just kind of want to move efficiently, and I don't know. Like, the gameplay itself is the appeal. So I'm not too concerned with like the internal economics of the moons in the game. And then it's able to make certain moons feel more, I don't know, valuable than others. One, because there's the presence of multi-moons where you get several at once for the larger challenges. But on top of that, certain objectives, they're just that much harder or demand that much more out of you that by the end of it, even though you're getting a moon and you could have bought that moon yourself, you feel like you accomplished something. And it's more about like the little snapshot where you pose with Cappy, and then it timestamps the it says the name of the moon that you got, which is kind of in a Mario 64 kind of way, where each one has its own little name describing
There's 800 and something of them, and they all have names.
Yeah, they do, all of them, and it timestamps when you get the moon. And I don't think it actually saves them. I think it must. It must be saved somewhere that I haven't looked. But I guess that's all I have to say about that. Is sure, you can probably make a case that the moons themselves are kind of deflated in value or whatever, but the Korok seed comparison is just simply unfair because there's so many different types of fun objectives in Odyssey, and almost all of them are fun. There's only like a handful that I didn't enjoy, and for a game that big, that's impressive. Sure. One of the ones I want to mention, though, that I didn't enjoy was the art game. There's a mini game where I actually streamed this, and I lost my fucking mind. Like, I was ready to just throw my Switch out the window. You are throwing your hat onto the little pieces of Mario's face. So it's like a big canvas, and then there's an outline of Mario, and then you throw your hat onto the mustache, then you drag the mustache into place, and then it disappears. And then you drag the right eye into place, and it disappears. And so you, bit by bit, assemble Mario's face, and you can't see the whole face at once or where you're positioning things relative to each other. You just kind of have to recognize it in your head. Okay, so that's easy enough. Then it increases the difficulty by removing all the color and detail from Mario's outline. So like his fist, his hat, his ears, everything just blends together into one outline on the outside. And then on this perfectly white Mario canvas, you have to drag each feature into place as it disappears, and you need to get 80% accuracy. And I was playing that for like 45 minutes. And
it's a game for children.
wow. Well, I was playing that for like 45 minutes, and I was getting 77, 79, 78, 79, and I could not figure out what the hell I was doing wrong. Like, I memorized every glistening contour of Mario's face, and I felt like I was getting it exactly perfect, and it still just wasn't working. And 45 minutes in, I realized that the little gleam in Mario's eye is slightly a few pixels above in the right eye, and then the other one's slightly... So what they do, they try to fuck with you by starting the right eye on the left side of the board. And to complete the easy mode challenge, you don't have to get the eyes in the right spot. So I was just bashing my head up against the wall with these eyes. I move the eyes, I like flip them, 100% accuracy, perfect Mario, and I wanted to just explode. It was one of the most miserable gameplay experiences I've ever had, and it was somewhat self-inflicted, but I was really not happy. That was very dumb. But that's the worst example. For the most part, there wasn't a single thing that I didn't enjoy doing. Just whether it's those side objectives that are pure platforming things when they separate you from your hat. There's just little fun, dinky objectives too. Like in New Donk City, it's like park your motor scooter somehow, get it on top of this building and park it up there. And so you bounce off a taxi cab and you flip your way into a fire escape, and then you jump up the stairs that way, and you're having to do these little hops because the space is so tight, and it's just really cool. It's a really cool game with a shit ton of content, and almost all of it's good. And if you're into platformers, it's got the best 3D platforming moveset this side of like Mario 64. So it's a no-brainer if you have a Switch.
All right. Ringing endorsement from you, because I'm sure everyone needed. People were waiting for your review.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's sort of been hanging back. They've waiting in the wings. Guys, is Mario good? You have my word. It's good.
I've got a game to not recommend to people.
Yeah. Okay. I want to hear about this.
Are you sure you know what I'm going to talk about?
I think, right? You're a Wolfenstein?
Yes, Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
I liked the New Order a lot. I finished the New Order. I had gotten like 2/3 of the way through a while back, like a year ago or a year and a half ago, and I just never finished it. And so, with the new one coming out and people saying good things about it, I was like, all right, I gotta fire up the New Order and finish that. Loved it. I loved every bit of New Order. I can't recommend it enough. I think it's better than Doom 2016.
Really?
Yeah, I loved it. It's just got a lot to offer. It's just a ton of fun. I really like that game a lot. It's just a fun single player romp.
How could the new one let you down so bad?
Well, it didn't even let me down at first. I started playing it and I was like, okay, cool. This is more of the New Order. It's just more of it. It's not particularly better, but I'm fine with more of it because it's fun and it's good and it's telling a direct continuation of the story, and it's cool because hey, it's Wolfenstein Nazis taking over America, and you're infiltrating their secret bases in Roswell and stuff. It's like great, cool. It's very Wolfenstein, and it fits the bill and it does everything right. And really, I was enjoying it all the way up to the end, where it just ends, and it's the least satisfying ending to a game that I might have ever seen. And it's not just it's some people could maybe call it a cliffhanger. I don't think it's really a cliffhanger ending, although it's definitely setting up for more. It's just disappointing. Because let me go ahead and spoil Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus for everyone.
Go ahead.
You've
How
got
long
the main...
is it, first of all?
It's not nearly as long as I wanted it to be. I don't know how long exactly. I could look on Steam real quick and see if it has my playtime. But it ended quicker than I thought. Like, I didn't think I was at the end of the game, and then it ended. So that was no good.
That feeling
have my
always
playtime.
sucks.
But yeah,
so it
ended
really over.
Yeah, it was like, let me just lay it out for you. I'm going to spoil the whole story for everyone. I'm not going to be in super detailed, but the first one of the main antagonists, not the main antagonist, but kind of the secondary main antagonist, I would say, is this German general lady who's obviously really evil and has a fucked up face and is your perfect evil Nazi woman. And she does not die in the end of the New Order, but the main bad guy does in a, of course, mech fight. He gets in his Nazi mech and he fights you, and you blow it up and kill him. And it's a satisfying ending to a game. But this new woman, or the woman from the old game, but she's obviously the main antagonist of the new one right off the bat. You spend the whole game kind of hunting her down, and she's hunting you down, and that kind of thing. So it's very obvious that, there's going to be some big final confrontation with her, because she is the antagonist of the game. You end up going to Venus. Nazis have a base on Venus, apparently. And you go to Venus. They're filming a movie. The Nazis think that you're dead. And so they're filming a movie it's a biographical movie about you and how awful you were and everything like that, because you're a terrorist. And they think you're dead, and they're casting for actors for this movie about you.
They're filming it on Venus?
The casting is on Venus because the government of the Nazis had to move to Venus to avoid terrorism, because the terrorists were so effective at killing them. So they ran off to Venus. And so you chase them down to Venus by acting like you're casting for the role of the main character. It's a very silly story, and that's part of what I like about it. So I'm all on board with it. And it has this great scene where there's a few other actors there on Venus, and they're all playing you. And then who walks in but Adolf Hitler himself? Old, kind of senile, not in good health Adolf Hitler, stumbling around, and he wants to audition you personally. He wants to look at each actor and see how they do, and of course he's disappointed with everyone's performance, and he's killing off the actors and all that kind of thing. And you're talking with him face to face, and it's like, holy shit, it's Hitler! I'm gonna get to kill Hitler! And you're so excited because you're at Venus and you're gonna be able to kill Hitler. And you do the Venus level, essentially. It's just like all the other levels. You go through it, and then you just get a notebook or something, a file off of a computer system or something stupid like that, and fly back to Earth. And it never mentions Hitler again in the game. You just meet him, he walks out, you go through a level where you expect the end to be killing Hitler, or at least confronting him, or him narrowly getting away, and then he's just never seen again or mentioned again, ever. And you make it back to Earth, and then you immediately go and kill the main lady in a cutscene. Well, it's an execution move. You when you get close to a character, you can press the execute button, and you do that to the main villain, and
like
that's
Halo 4.
Yeah, like Halo 4. It's an execution move main boss. It's like Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2. Yeah, it's incredibly disappointing for a Wolfenstein game, to say the least. I was blown away by how bad of an ending that is, and how off-brand it is. When the rest of the game was pretty on-brand, the ending is not a giant boss fight against the villain that ends in a satisfying way. It's a fucking execution scene. And then credits roll.
It's like such an obvious setup, too, like Hitler in space.
To make matters worse, the credits roll, and you're going, it's the end of the game? Holy shit, the credits are rolling? It's the end of the game? What? And it starts playing... I'm trying to remember which song it was. Is it the "We're Not Gonna Take It"? or maybe it was I get knocked down and I get back up again. Or it was one of those kinds of songs done by a heavy metal cover band. And the credits are rolling, and you're going, it is the worst ending to a game I've ever played, period. I was astounded.
Well, this guy in the chat said we're not gonna take it, so it's probably
we're not gonna take it, but it's metal, so it's like, we're not gonna take it, and it's like, what the fuck did I just
You gotta
witness?
earn that kind of
I immediately alt F4'd the game and uninstalled it. I could not believe how bad it was. And there's extra content too, like good content that I didn't want to play because it was so tainted. It was like, fuck that. It was so bad.
That's
So
sad because it looked really cool. The trailer looked awesome.
It is cool. It is cool all the way up to the ending because it sets up the cool thing about Wolfenstein. One of the main appeals of Wolfenstein, I think, is that the whole time you're building up to something big and you know it. That's what the New Order is all about. Like, even on the smaller scales too, like in the individual levels, like there's going to be a big fight at the end of each level, and that there's going to be a big fight at the end of the game, and that the story is progressing in such a way that you're going to have this satisfying showdown with the bad guy, and the new Colossus kind of you're excited for it because it seems like maybe it's setting up for that, and then it doesn't. Maybe they'll release DLCs that ends up being what was supposed to be the rest of the game that they had to sell separately because Bethesda made them to or something. That's complete conjecture. I don't know if that's what happened, but it feels like an incomplete game for sure. Very, very, very disappointing. So
that's sad, especially for like a single player focus. Kind of game.
And
if you fuck up the ending, then that does ruin the whole thing for sure.
Especially in a Wolfenstein game where like the ending, like you think of Wolfenstein, you think of Mecha Hitler like right away, like that's the thing, and for them to even like tease it and then not deliver, it's a real shame too because it is a good game and it's a well-made game except for how disappointing it is at the end. So, bad taste in my mouth for that one. I don't know if I've played any other video games. I'm sure I have. Some games I'm sure have been played, but those are the big ones: Zelda and Wolfenstein for sure.
Well, I've been playing too many video games, honestly. Persona 4, finished that. Made a video about it. Just released it yesterday.
I saw your video today, actually.
Persona 3, playing that. About halfway through now. I'm not gonna say anything. Good games. Talk about it all the time.
You're probably further than I ever got with Persona 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get through. Like, not controlling your party sucks.
Yeah, there's a version where you can.
Yeah, but it's the portable one where...
and doesn't have all the cutscenes and stuff.
Right, it like ruins the game at the expense of making the gameplay good, or however you should...
It's a trade-off, Yeah,
but, slogging through that, it's just you make all the right choices, and then the AI does something fucking retarded, and you're done. And it's not Persona 4 where you get to restart at the beginning of the floor. You restart at your last save. You kick back to the title every time you die.
And that game also, like Persona 3 more than the others, requires a certain level of grinding. Like it feels like the proper way to play the game is to grind to a higher level than the 4 you're going to be having to defeat. So
it's not the gameplay is not as good as the newer ones. It's a good game.
Still has that style.
As far as new games
we all know and love.
Go, Hat in Time. That's I gotta talk about Hat in Time because it's very good, and it came out of nowhere for me. Like, it was one of those Kickstarter games in that kind of, I don't know, whatever generation. There are certain generations of Kickstarters.
Eras.
Like, there's the Mighty Number 9 generation, and then like the Ukulele generation after that or whatever. And Hat in Time was kind of the early-ish, if I remember this right, era. And it was, a tribute to the collectathons of the N64 days and Banjo-Kazooie. And it's like, yeah, okay, it looks cool. Could probably make some content out of this. But they took their time, they put a lot of effort in, and they made something really good. And I wasn't following the project and back it, but having just played the final product when it came out, it feels like a full professional video game, and surprisingly, it's able to like stand credibly next to Mario Odyssey as like a really good 3D platformer this year.
That's the crazy part, is like they couldn't have released it at a worse time, right? Like, it's against the biggest platformer ever.
You got people like me on a platformer kick, kind of because of Odyssey, who might not have played Hat in Time.
Maybe that is a thing. Maybe people are getting excited for it because of that.
I don't think they're like in competition with one another. Like, Odyssey is looking at everybody, and Hat in Time is, well, I don't know. Hat in Time is a very cute platform.
Yeah.
Hat girl with a cute hat, and lots of cute characters and scenarios. unlike Mario Odyssey, you're not looking at 850 moons. You're looking at 40 well-crafted timepiece missions. You collect the hourglasses, and each one of them is unique. All of them are fun. The controls are extremely well polished. You've got versatile moveset, just like in Odyssey. You can dive, you can cancel your dives. If you hit a button right as you dive into the ground, you can get a little boost of speed, and you can use that to, like, there's a lot that you can do with your platforming moveset. Like, if you hit the jump button as you collide with a wall, instead of thumping into it, you'll do a little quick clamber up it, and you can chain moves into one another. It's a very active, acrobatic kind of game. The soundtrack's great. I recommend that a lot. Not as good as Odyssey, but I don't think anyone was expecting that. It's proportional, like pound for pound, it's probably more impressive. Like, it's a very small effort, and it turned out really well. Particular standouts are these two levels that I play over and over again. There's this level where you're running around like a town, and you're greeting like these penguins and becoming like a diva superstar. So you just get like photographed with these photo ops around this town, and you're basically just trying to run through the town as fast as possible and meet all the different penguins. And it's the music in that level and the feeling of it. It's like a town setting that they only use for these two little missions, and it's fully realized. And there's telephone poles that you can bounce off of, like the telephone wires, and get bungee jumps up to higher places. It's just so well put together. And the second one I like to play all the time is the variant on that level, where now the entire like street level of the town is a big rowdy parade, so you can't touch the ground anymore without getting hurt. And you've got a parade, you're like wearing a little parade outfit, and you have a marching band marching behind you, and they are just one-to-one following the exact path that you're taking, almost like a game of Snake. And if you stop, they'll just collide with you and hurt you. So you have to constantly be moving, and you can't touch the ground. And it's this environment that you kind of got to understand by just running through it casually in the first one. It's so good. It's a really well thought through game. Really impressive rookie effort from a new developer, especially a Kickstarter one. Like, really easy to fuck up a Kickstarter. The development cycle's so long, no accountability, all that. It just makes me happy to see. They've been fucked up
over and over and over and over.
It makes you happy to see one actually work out, and this one did. It's worth checking out if you like platformers. I don't think it's the like essential 3D platformer that Odyssey is, but
sure,
yeah, it's cool.
If you're looking for more of that, there you go.
Destiny 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been playing some Destiny 2. Not all that much though. My friends are playing it, so whatever. Yeah. If you got friends to play with, that's the only reason I can.
I saw people playing the raid at the end of Destiny 2, and I couldn't figure out why anyone would do it. It's like this nightmare of like completely contrived challenges that require a ridiculous amount of coordination, and I just don't get it. I have no desire to play Destiny.
On the PC, it's a lot more fun. Definitely. Like, it's a competent, adventure-y kind of shooter, and that they're able to make it work in like a good multiplayer focused setting is cool, and it brings back that feeling of co-op that I think we've kind of lost over time.
Do you actually feel like you're playing co-op though? Like coordinating with other players and stuff like that? Like,
but I can't say that I would feel that way at all if I wasn't playing with a fire team of people that I know very well on Discord.
Right.
Like, I can't picture myself going into that game and just like fucking around by myself or with randoms. But when you've got a party, it can be a lot of fun, and you know, it doesn't require hyper focus like CS:GO does.
Sure.
Maybe the raid does. I haven't done that yet.
Seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, my friends have been playing the raid. And
it's like the raid takes hours to focus.
Yeah. I never got into the raids in Destiny 1 because I think I was done with the game before they even came out because it was boring as shit. And I can't picture sitting down at my console with a controller and raiding. Like, that sounds like misery. I don't know. But I've never been an MMO person either, so it would really be like the first real raid I'd
I never did
done.
raids in MMOs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did the 5-man dungeons in WoW all the time, but those are relatively simple. Although they do require a certain amount of coordination and frustration and time. But
Now I don't know why I'm asking you, but is the raid in Destiny 2 like? Is it pretty easy to get party wipe start from the beginning?
it seems like it doesn't seem like it's a start from the beginning thing. It seems like it's a checkpoint thing. So like,
Right.
there's different segments basically, and they always wipe you. Like basically the whole point is to not get wiped. That's the only way to complete it. You don't have like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of nuance where, I say nuance is probably the wrong word, but it doesn't seem like it has a lot of leeway as far as making mistakes. Like if someone makes a mistake, it wipes the party. Like arbitrarily, not like, oh, there's so many monsters we can't take them. It's like, no, your screen goes white and everyone dies at the same time because someone screwed up. It's that kind of thing. And it's like, the last thing I want to do is rely on 4 or 5 other people to not fuck up, or else I'm going to die instantly. That's, to me, that is like my personal nightmare, and I don't understand why anyone would want to do it.
Yes, the key is to make sure those people are better than you.
Yeah, the key is to at least make sure they're competent enough that like you're not sitting there just.
Make sure that you're the one pissing people off.
Yeah, exactly. That's the place to be in almost any game. But yeah, I mean, whatever. I guess I do. I act like I don't understand it at all. I do understand it, but that's the last thing I want to do. So
yeah, and I get that. It's basically just a thing to play. It's like Destiny 1. I think it's like 6, 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
it's a game.
The stuff up to the raid does seem. I mean, like you said, you don't have to focus on it. It's kind of mind numbing in a way, but there's nothing wrong with that. But it also seems like, to me, one of the things that turns me away from Destiny a little bit is it seems like there is quite a lot of focus on PvP stuff, which
I haven't done any of it yet, honestly.
I don't want to play any of that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there isn't. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But like, the only thing I would want Destiny for is the co-op stuff. And everyone I know, except you now, who talks about Destiny, plays the PvP stuff a lot. So I
played that some on the PS4, and it really just felt like sloppier Halo at the time.
Exactly, it looks like Halo, but yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't really appeal to me all that much. There's all kinds of multiplayer shooters you can play on PC for competitive stuff. But speaking of the Blizzard angle, like I think Overwatch was one of the games that was coming to mind. The PC port of Destiny 2 is really good. I'm surprised it turned out so well. Like, it runs great. It supports kind of everything. It's got all the features you want it to have. It's a competent first PC game for.
If you're gonna release a multiplayer game on Battle.net, it better be pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. Because like it's going up there to be listed with some really, 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 really quality multiplayer games. So I'm not exactly surprised, but I'm glad to hear it. I was disappointed that one wasn't on the PC.
Them being Activision Blizzard worked out really well for this port.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, it's boring game. Whatever. Game.
Yeah, and Blizzard's making their own Destiny of some sort.
Are they?
Yeah, it was at E3. It looks like Destiny, I guess. I don't know.
Are you thinking of Anthem?
I think so.
That's an EA thing. That's a BioWare one.
Well, Blizzard's making something.
Really?
I think so. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was mixing up BioWare and Blizzard in my head.
Because
I'm pretty sure they're both making. I think there's 2 Destiny-esque looking games coming out. I think.
It makes sense. It's pretty successful.
It all.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Jumbles together in my head, but the one that you saw a gameplay of, was that Anthem?
I have no idea. It didn't interest me. I don't care.
You could fly around.
BioWare has a lot of
canned footage. It looked fake as hell. It didn't look like an actual game to me. We haven't seen anything from that game since E3. I was saying it looked fake, and everyone was saying, "Well, what are you talking about? It's actual gameplay." And I was like, I think it was fake. And I think next time we see gameplay, it's going to look a lot less impressive. It's going to be like whatchamacallit, that other Destiny-like game that took place in New York.
The Division.
The Division. Do you remember the stark contrast between the first footage of the Division and the second footage of the Division? It was like a year apart, and it was like
it's like a crime.
It was a completely different game. I remember thinking that game looked really impressive. I mean, obviously you could tell it was really scripted and canned in a lot of ways, but it was like, okay, no, maybe they actually made a game that looks like this. I remember thinking that when I first saw the footage, and then like looking back, I was so foolish. Of course it didn't look like that.
Yeah, there's just certain companies that I can't trust anything that they show me at all. And
Ubisoft is definitely one.
Time and time again has proven you can't trust them as far as you can throw them. And like Assassin's Creed, well, who cares? Who even plays these games?
I don't know. People do play it. I had
what do you think of the whole loot box gate? What are your thoughts on loot box gate?
I was thinking about that a lot today because people were freaking out about the I don't know if you saw the most downvoted post ever on Reddit right now is a EA support post replying to a thread where someone was like, someone did really well in a Battlefront game, top of the leaderboard, killed their competition, did really super well, got like 200 points, whatever that means. But what it definitely means is that they did the math and it would require something like, I think they said it was like something like 40 hours or maybe more than that, or like 300 games or something, some kind of ridiculous amount of games to unlock one hero, unlock Darth Vader. If you want to unlock Darth Vader, it would take that long to do without paying. And so they posted this, and then an EA person replied and said, we're looking into this balance stuff, but the idea is to reward the player, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And everyone's, freaking out and taking the opportunity to tell EA what they think about loot boxes, which I think is perfectly valid, that people are disgusted by have you seen Battlefront 2? Have you seen the way that they implement this stuff?
I haven't, but I'm just so tuned out of basically every game that has loot boxes that...
Well, me too. I had no interest in Battlefront 2 after Battlefront 1, which wasn't even really saturated with that stuff, but I was like, I don't care anymore. Not specifically because of microtransactions, just in general, because I'm like, I don't really care. But I looked at some gameplay of Battlefront 2. And you know how like free-to-play games are known for just like constantly shoving in your face, it's like, here's what you're winning, and here's what you're winning, and you can unlock it doing this, and da-da-da, and it's just everywhere. And then like, oh, you can build this with this, you have 3 different currencies, and this currency can be built on this, and then
you can exchange your glim glams.
Yeah, and reduce the time exchange on this item, and da-da-da, and daily challenges. And Battlefront 2 looks at least as bad as a free-to-play game. Like, wow. And it is a $60 product that expects you to pay $80. And it looks, I mean, it is, to say it's saturated with that shit is almost an understatement. Like, it is everywhere. And that stuff is like really important because a lot of the stuff that you're buying is super good, like pay to win, basically. They act like it isn't, but it obviously is. I mean, that Battlefield 3 had pay to win aspects. Like, I remember you get in a tank in Battlefield 3 and you haven't unlocked anything for that tank. You don't have basic stuff that other people have, like deploying a smoke screen or whatever, like detecting when someone's locking on you with a missile, like these things that everyone has on their tanks, you don't have. I remember that being really frustrated in Battlefield 3, so I'm not surprised to see it years and years later in this essentially the same franchise, the DICE Battle Blank series. But it is really, I don't look at microtransactions and think like, ooh, they're exploiting people. I don't really buy that concept of it. I'm one of those people that thinks if you want to gamble all your money away, you have the right to do that. And I don't think that I don't think you can blame EA for trying to sell you shit and you being stupid enough to buy it. That's not EA's fault. But I can blame them for ruining, I think, in my mind, because actually the gameplay itself looks more fun, like significantly more fun than Battlefront 1. Like, I would be interested in the game. I might actually buy the game, except for the microtransaction stuff. I mean, it is just so, I want no part of it. It looks like a nightmare to deal with, and it just totally ruins it for me. And so, yeah, they should be blamed for ruining what might otherwise be a good game. Like, I feel really bad for developers who are putting all this time polishing a really cool game and making a good experience for people, and then people are turned away by something that they have no control over. That sucks. But I don't think loot boxes are ruining games. I think people are also saying like single player games are ruined because EA shut down. Is it Visceral Studios? Chat, help me out here. I think it's Visceral or something.
Wait, which one is Visceral? Which one made Titanfall?
Dead Space.
Dead Space. Okay, because they bought
the Titanfall
guys.
Yeah, no, Visceral has like always been an EA thing, and they made Dead Space. Dead Space was like 2010 or 9 or 8, something like
That
that.
game had a lot of cool kills.
No, that was Dead Space 2 that had a lot of cool kills and moments.
Personally, I think Dead Space 1 had cooler kills.
But I was looking through, everyone was freaking out because EA shut down Visceral. And people were saying, and Visceral was making some sort of single player Star Wars experience, and EA shut it down. And then EA put out a statement about the Star Wars single player game and said, well, we were looking at it, and it was this bullshit like PR wording saying basically that they didn't feel like a single player experience of that type was going to keep players engaged, aka like keep them playing the game so they'll keep paying money for it. And people were freaking out. They were saying EA killed Visceral. They're killing single player games. Rest in peace, single player experiences. They're gone forever. They're dead. In a year where Mario Odyssey came out, Zelda came out, Wolfenstein came out,
Nier, Persona,
Nier Automata, Persona. All the best single player games of the last 5 years have come out to this year.
5 years. 15 years.
I don't know. You got Red Dead Redemption and stuff.
50
start
years.
Going really way back there, but yeah, that's a ridiculous statement to make. And also, I was looking through Visceral's games, and I was like, all right, let's see why they shut down this studio. Let's see what they've made in the past, and whether they can be trusted to make this good Star Wars game that everyone thought was going to be the best thing ever. They made Dead Space 1, which people loved. I didn't, but I don't care. Whatever. I'm not their audience, I guess. They made Dead Space 2, which I guess people also liked, but I don't remember anyone ever talking about it, really. That was 2011. After that, they made, like, Battlefield expansions. Army of Two, one of those games. They made that. They made Battlefield Hardline, the worst Battlefield game. And that's it.
It's pretty rare for a studio, and I don't know anything really about Visceral, so maybe this is not accurate, but like a good studio is almost always tied together by like a handful of really key creative people. Or even business types. Like, if you look at Studio Ghibli, there's Miyazaki, and then there's that producer he always worked with, who kind of, they were able to, together, make great movies, and then release them to a wide market, effectively. And, I don't know. Is Visceral or Dead Space famous for, like, a tourist vision? I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, people really liked Dead Space,
sure,
but I said, the last good Dead Space was 2011. That people hated Dead Space 3, and Visceral made that.
Right. Like
maybe they weren't making a good Star Wars game, and that's why they got shut down, and that's why EA's changing developer on the Star Wars game. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, like a game studio is kind of fluid, unless you've got certain key people still there, then it's not necessarily the same studio. Like, Bungie is not the same Bungie that they were when they were making Halo 3. Not even close.
Yeah. But yeah, I just don't think, like, people have this, like, hysteria right now that loot boxes are going to be in every game ever. First of all, even if they were, there's plenty of games that have loot boxes that, like, I don't think loot boxes change Overwatch at all. Like, I couldn't care less that they exist.
Yeah, because they're purely cosmetic. That's why.
Purely cosmetic. They're not obtrusive. It's not constantly telling you, hey, look, you've won something. It, like, maybe even if Battlefront was just loot boxes, if that was the only issue with Battlefront, then maybe that'd be different. But everything is unlockable in Battlefront, and there's all these complicated systems. That's what really turns me off. It's not the loot boxes in particular. Someone in chat said that they hate the loot boxes in Rocket League. Why? Rocket League? Like, it doesn't matter. You drive around in your car and you hit the ball. Like, it doesn't matter if someone has a cooler trail than yours behind their car. Like,
you don't need a loot box to get the Darth Vader car.
Yeah, exactly. And so it just, that's, I think, a little silly. Like, if developers want to have loot boxes, I think the loot boxes in PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds are the stupidest thing in the world. And I think it's also really scummy that they started selling them in early access when they specifically said they wouldn't. The game isn't anywhere near complete, and
everybody knows that early access is just
is bullshit. Exactly.
Right?
I mean, that's what I'm pissed off about, is early access as a concept rather than anything else. But I just don't. I don't see the hysteria. I don't agree with the hysteria about the loot boxes. I think microtransactions are ruining specific games.
Yes.
That is an issue, but they're not going to be in every game ever. Every game ever is not going to be ruined. I mean, Blizzard clearly is going for a market that doesn't care about those kinds of microtransactions. Overwatch makes a concerted effort not to overload you with microtransactions, and they still make a shit ton of money off of it. So it's not the end of the world that Battlefront 2. And plus, I think the reaction to Battlefront 2, and this is part of why this reaction is happening, is because people know this. EA is going to respond to it, and they're going to change the way that it works for sure. They definitely will. But so good for people for at least getting EA to change their bullshit. But like, as far as how it speaks to the industry as a whole, I'm not worried. I'm not concerned about it at all.
Yeah, like it seems like it's only this is overly dismissive, but it's true. It's only bad big games that have these fucking things anyway.
Someone in chat also mentioned Team Fortress 2. That was ruined by cosmetic items and
I don't think it was the cosmetics. I think it was the flood of slight gameplay altering things that
I think it was ruined by that before the cosmetics. But when I go into TF2, when I went into it recently, and like everything looked bonkers.
Yeah, right. The cosmetics are an immediate in your face reminder of look how far we've fallen.
Yeah, and the style was such an important part of that game, and like the recognition of the characters and everything is just completely out the window, and so that's more of a long-term issue with Team Fortress 2. But Team Fortress 2 was ruined at first by unlocking weapons for your classes that changed things in weird ways and kind of ruined the beautiful simplicity of Team Fortress 2. And I don't know if that's even really comparable to what the issue is with like Battlefront and stuff, except the overly complex game design that.
But that stuff was fine when it was still when you could keep track of it all. When the medic has a new gun that sounds different and it just gives crits instead of uber charges, then that's like, okay, I'm able to understand how that works. Yeah. But then when you get like, okay, the heavy has 5 different miniguns now, and one of them slows you down, and one of them fires faster, but or the
25% less damage, but 25% higher fire rate,
higher knockback.
Why the fuck would I care? And
it's like, I don't know what's being done to me,
exactly,
or what the enemy who just rounded the corner is capable of. When what you were just saying, how simple it all was, it made it very readable. Every situation was readable. You can see the silhouette of the class, and then you know exactly what it can do to you from what distance. Know you are able to contain right there in, like, I don't know, your RAM, like your front level right now kind of memory, exactly what the possibility space is.
Yeah.
And that's not possible anymore, and the game's ruined because of it.
And that's what Overwatch got right. And ironically, part of what's wrong with our Overwatch is the ability to change the classes quickly enough that RAM part of your brain gets confused, and it kind of hurts competitive play. But I don't think Overwatch should be a competitive game anyway. So, but speaking of Overwatch, here's another controversy in the Overwatch community, because everyone wants to hear about what's going on in the Overwatch community. People are getting banned for just picking one class.
I read that.
Yeah. So if even if you're really good, even if you're ranked like really high up, if you're just picking one class and the rest of your team is reporting you because, oh, you're not being a team player because we need a healer and you're not switching to healer, you can be banned from the game, suspended, whatever, officially suspended from the game, unable to play for a certain amount of time for just choosing one class. And like, some people have like entire online personas where like they play that class and that's what their Twitch stream is all about or whatever. And like, they're getting banned from the game for it because it's not constructive to team play or something like that. Overwatch is such a disaster on so many levels. I really respect what that game is and what they did with that game. I think that, like, design wise, it's genius in so many ways and really well polished. And it was a lot of fun until I started taking it seriously and trying to be competitive with it. And then I was like, oh, fuck this. But boy, just everything surrounding that game, all the community aspects of it and everything is like, Jesus. Like, when they change the when you can't say GG easy in the chat because people are being pissed off about it, like, it's stupid shit like that. It's like, why are you even?
That wound up being a blessing, though. That's I love the word filler.
Well, yeah, because it's way funnier when everyone
Yeah.
knows what you're actually saying.
Right,
but
because it's the same canned set of
response.
phrases,
Like,
but it's just
it
always
doesn't
like,
change a thing. In fact, it just inspires people to do it more because it's funny. Yeah.
and everyone
Yep.
knows what you're saying. It's just like a direct one-to-one translation of I'm somebody. It's past my bedtime. Please put me to bed. That just translates GG easy, except like with a big exclamation point.
It's pretty ridiculous. So, yeah, that's the topical video game controversies. What you came here for?
Yeah, Lootbox Gate. It's
Yes,
the Gamergate
Lootbox Gate.
sequel you all wanted back.
Yeah.
Um,
Except everyone agrees on it.
yeah, it's true.
like who? There are people out there. Rami Ismail, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he is notorious for having bad opinions on Twitter. He got out there and he said, he said if he made a joke tweet about content creators complaining about microtransactions and then shilling their channel, saying that you should like and subscribe and everything, as if those two things are in any way equivalent.
No.
So get on there and threaten him with his life on Twitter. I'm calling for harassment.
Coordinated campaign.
Push to Shout wants you to harass people on Twitter. Coordinated. Go for SJWs.
It doesn't matter who, actually. Just find somebody.
SJWs.
Ruin their life.
Target them. Ruin their life. Threaten them.
We'll actually post a list. We're gonna post a list of phone numbers and email addresses.
Yes.
No, physical addresses in the description. Just check that out. Do whatever you.
This is an official call for harassment.
We played some VR Minecraft a little while ago.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that because it's a lot of fun. It's I don't know. I didn't play much after that, but the novelty was cool.
It's still Minecraft.
Yeah, it's still Minecraft. I haven't played that in years and years and years. But playing it in VR with like actual mouse keyboard controls, that was like a very make sure you say push to shout sent you. Playing a first person perspective game in VR with mouse and keyboard controls, that was the first time I had done that, and the assumption that I think everybody took for granted is that you can't do mouse look in VR, that it's just not. That's ridiculous. Like, you need something smooth, something to narrow in your field of vision, or something to keep you from getting hopelessly motion sick. And that wasn't the case at all with me playing VR Minecraft. It's handled pretty well, I think, where you've got this almost like a dead zone that occupies most of the screen, and in that field, you're able to move your mouse around and just use it like a cursor, and your field of view doesn't change. And it's only when you move your mouse all the way to the extreme edges of the screen that everything starts to scroll. And so you prepare yourself for it. And I didn't have any problems with motion sickness at all. And I know it varies person to person, but I was very pleasantly surprised by how well that worked. That you could have a traditional control scheme work in VR. And less so excited about the VR Minecraft, but more excited for like that it means real VR video games.
Yeah, I'm frustrated with VR development in general because of their reluctance to just make a video game in VR. They feel like they have to do all these like accommodations where you teleport around and like they'll have it where you like look in like 45-degree segments because apparently that's less disorienting, even though to me it's just incredibly confusing and weird.
Have you played Subnautica?
No.
I wasn't able to get into the gameplay part of it all that much because it's kind of a crafty, survival-y thing, and I've just played so many games like that by this point.
Yeah.
That I have no interest in learning all the recipes and progression paths. But you crash land on a alien ocean planet. Like you're in this massive spaceship, you fall from space, and you've just got your little escape pod and endless ocean in every direction. And it's so cool. It really feels like you're going underwater. Like you've got the splash effect as you go underneath the surface, and if you're right near the surface, you can poke your head up and below the water. it feels like you're underwater. And when sea creatures with big gnarly teeth are chomping at you, or like these, you see like because it's an alien planet, it's not just regular fish you'd find in the ocean. So you got like this barnacle or something in a cave, and then it blooms open, and this puffer fish just swims out of it right for you and then explodes or something. Like, there are these moments where you're like, oh shit, like actually you jump. It's one of the scarier VR games, honestly. Just being in the ocean in the pitch dark, it's like being in outer space. And you just
it can be really unnerving.
Some bioluminescent something swinging around and swimming around, and it's cool. It's a cool game, or rather, like a cool VR experience. I can't imagine playing it though as like a video game.
And I wish more. I wish you had more like Minecraft-like things where they're just like, okay, here's the game that works the same way the game always works. It's just in VR now, which apparently is what Fallout 4 is going to be, I guess. And the closer that comes to being an actual thing, the more I'm thinking like, God, that does sound really cool. Yeah. As much as I think Fallout 4 is a piece of shit, walking around and picking up shit and shooting at things with your gun seems like a lot of fun. Like, it would be really cool if they did that with more games, where it's just like, here's the game you know and love, and it's in VR. And I don't think it's so hard to implement that it's impossible to do. I think it's just that they're afraid of implementing it in such a way that people are like, oh, well, it makes me sick. And I don't know. Fuck those people. Sorry. VR makes you sick. Deal with it. Don't play it. I mean, that's bottom line to me. Sure, make experiences for those people, but don't avoid experiences just because those people might get sick. Like, that's ridiculous. And
it's like that when they were first coming out with the motion pictures back in the good old days, the golden days, and they had that film that they would show, and it was like a train approaching the camera, and then everyone's like, aghast, we're going to get hit by the train.
There was one where a guy pointed a gun at a camera too.
Yeah, exactly. The Great Train Robbery. Not that it's related to the one with the train coming to the camera, but I think that's the name of that one, where the guy is just sitting there with the gun, pow, pow.
Yeah.
And it freaked people out. But people get used to it. I think VR is kind of the same. Like,
maybe. I don't know. I don't know if the motion sickness is. I don't know if motion sickness is just something that a certain percentage of the population just has and won't be able to get over with VR. Because it is disorienting. When you're playing... When you're moving around and not teleporting, it feels weird, but only at first, and then you get used to it. Once you learn to anticipate it, once you learn what it feels like, it's not disorienting at all. I don't think.
I agree with you. I think it's totally an acclimation thing.
Yeah, over a long period of time, maybe you'll get a headache or something. But every time I get a headache, I don't know if it's because it's VR or if it's because I've been playing 2 hours of a video game with a screen right in front of my eyes. Like, of course, that's going to give you a headache, regardless of whether you're playing VR or not. So, I mean, that's. Just don't worry about it. Let people move around at will. Even the camera, it's fine. Especially if you have, and I think this is something that people discount too easily. Something that orients your character's position. So, like, if you're inside a helmet and you can see the edges of it, or you can look around inside of it and then you can move it, then I think that's a lot less disorienting to people, because like, you're still in your safe space. You're just moving around a character that you're inside, rather than like it doesn't feel like your head itself is being moved. It's your shell, whatever you're inside, is being moved instead.
Yeah.
Because there's some games where I've played that have done that, and it's like fine. It's like if you make a mech game and you're in the cockpit, it's no different from that. Like, just have something to orient yourself in front of you, so that it doesn't feel like the whole... Because what it feels like at first is like the whole world is moving. It's not like you're moving. It's like the world's moving underneath you, and that's really jarring. So it doesn't feel like that if you're positioned somewhere.
And part of that's just because there's no physical feedback to correspond with the movement that you're seeing.
No inner ear.
Yeah. But I think you get used to it. Like, imagine how people reacted to like the first automobiles. People probably got sick, to be honest. First automobile days, and people are still pushing the VR as a gimmick thing, and I just it's not.
I don't necessarily think it's the future of video games. I don't think every video game is going to be VR in the future, but I certainly think it is a future of video games. It's a thing that people are going to use.
It's a new category.
It's really cool.
It's not going away for sure. About all I had to say about VR. Else, Fractured Butthole. That's it.
Oh,
yeah. I've been playing South Park Fractured Butthole.
Did you play the Stick of Truth?
Stick of Truth. Yeah. I enjoyed Stick of Truth, but
it's all right.
Fractured Butthole is better. They made a better video game, which is good. The combat's actually pretty neat. It's not like your cutting edge tactical experience or anything, but it's cool what they were able to change up the formula with. It's not like a Paper Mario turn-based thing anymore. You're constantly positioning yourself on a grid, and depending on which powers you choose, you can affect different like arrangements of that grid. Like, say you have a fireball move that blasts 3 horizontal spaces in front of you, or maybe you're doing a diagonal attack in 2 directions across the whole board or something. But the result of all that is that there are legitimate like tactical decisions that you can make every fight about who you're going to bring with you, what powers you're going to use, where you're going to position yourself, where you ideally want to be positioned with respect to your enemies. You have different moves that pull or push enemies around, and there's just that extra little something that makes the combat like fun, and that's huge. The music also, especially the combat music, has been like a tremendous step up. Like, there are tracks in that game that are just fucking banging. Like the like the song that plays when you fight the Raisins girls. It's like the little South Park Town version of Hooters where they have 4th grade girls.
Right,
the little raisins. Yeah.
God.
And the song that plays when you fight the Raisins is so fucking good. That you should just go listen to that at some point. It's really cool. And the bosses are also really well done. The boss fights are memorable, and they have this... Most of the bosses, I'd say, or not most. There's like a subcategory of bosses that have some ability that'll interrupt everyone's turn. So you might be like fighting 3 guys, you got the boss doing its own thing, and a meter is ticking up. And most of the game is turn-based, but if that meter reaches the max, it goes on a timer, basically. Everyone's turn is interrupted. Everyone stands where they are, and the boss will do some telegraphed but extremely devastating attack that, like, I don't know. But one that stands out is in the strip club, Spontaneous Bootay. Like this massive black stripper who's just like 800 pounds, and you're trying to escape the back dressing room in the strip club. Spontaneous Bootay is marching from the left side of the screen, just crushing everything in her path with their ass. And if like some of the enemy strippers are caught, they're just insta kill 999 damage. Like it's really well done. You can tell that they play a lot of video games and they understand what's fun about them. And and most importantly, they understood it well enough to be able to improve on where the last game wasn't so strong. And one of the points of, I guess, praise it deserves is the map, because I hated the map first game. It was so miserable to navigate. And just a basic quality of life thing, they just made the map more visually readable. They didn't drastically overhaul it, they just fixed it so it's not shit. And that's true of all the little annoyances of the first game. And they also just kind of elevated the highs also. So enjoy that. I'm not done with it, but
they take that game seriously in a way that you don't expect a South Park branded game to be taken seriously. Like, they make an actual game out of it. The Stick of Truth, I never finished it, but it was it impressed me with how much of an actual game it was, although it's still the kind of game that like I don't like. It's still, I would still say it's like JRPG style. Like, that's kind of what it is. You know my opinion on JRPGs, Persona 5 and everything, even the ones I love. So it's still kind of that, where it's like, I don't want to do all this shit over and over and over and over again and all that stuff. But yeah, they put care into that game, and it seems like, the creators of South Park actually, voice everything and write everything themselves instead of handing it off to some B team or something like that. The one complaint I have about the Stick of Truth, that seems like, from the little I've seen, of Fractured But Whole is that a lot of the content of the game is just referential, like references to characters and stuff from South Park over the years, which I understand why it's that way, but like I would rather it just do its own thing. But of course it's going to do that, and there's a lot of content to fill the game. So like, what are you going to fill that with other than South Park characters? So of course there's a lot of references, but it is impressive that a South Park game is an actual quality game. Period.
Yeah, and that they were able to improve over the last somewhat quality game too.
And I haven't watched South Park in a while now, but not out of it being any worse than it was. Like apparently South Park's still going pretty strong. Like there's good episodes and bad episodes, but people still like it. People whose opinions I trust still say, yeah, it's pretty good. So
there's a good gimmick.
Good for them.
Socially relevant these days, culturally relevant. Build your character sheet, and so you pick like your race, ethnicity.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Gender expression, every little piece of your identity. And there's this bit where you finally complete your character sheet by choosing your religion, and then these rednecks come up to you, and they're like, "Well, looky here! If it isn't a transgender, queer, Mormon, black, like,
I saw the thing where the difficulty level is your race, where it goes from black to white, or vice versa, rather.
People wrote articles like on all the classic sites. And they actually thought that it did change the difficulty, and no,
it doesn't. You don't think so? I thought that was a real difficulty slider.
No, it's literally just your skin color.
That's a little disappointing. I think that'd be really funny.
People kicking you in the street and stuff. So cool game. Hollow Knight.
Good for them.
Played Hollow Knight.
Gee whiz, you've been busy.
I really have. All busy with all these video games, playing all these bleep bloop video game. Hollow Knight's good though. Metroidvania is good. I don't think I liked it as much as a lot of people do. People are really into that. It's very cool. It has a great atmosphere, but I feel like I've played too many games like it just over the years. Like I played almost all the DS Castlevanias, and I've played that kind of game. So
yeah,
that's about all I got for video games, though.
I think that's all I got. I don't think, other than stuff that we've talked about in years gone past, PUBG. I guess I've played a little bit more of that, but not super recently.
I think I've still played like a single-digit number of games.
Still sucks shit.
Is that game still on the rise?
Yes.
It can't be.
No, not on the rise. It's not on the rise, but
Okay,
I'd say
that's what I meant.
At least it's maintaining its popularity, I think.
Okay.
But they're not,
for a while, it was like the number one explosive video game.
They're never going to fix that game, though. It's never going to
Why would
be
they?
fixed. Exactly. They've already got your money. I've had that game for months now, and I can count the amount of significant things they've updated on one hand. They've added fog as a map type, so now it can be foggy out. They've added a single weapon. They've changed how a weapon spawns. Instead of a crate that drops, it spawns in the world. They've added horns to vehicles, was right before I joined, so I won't count that one. Trying to think of anything else that they've added.
Did they add an FOV slider, mate?
Maybe they added a few small settings in the menus or something. I would say that would be the most impressive thing that they would have added, because like that's an actual fix to the game. But they're not updating. When I started, they were sharing all these, like, the developers were on Twitter like sharing videos and stuff of their development on vaulting, because the jumping in that game is totally wonky and broken, and you can jump through windows that have glass over them, but you have to do it in a way where like you jump and crouch at the same time. So it's just like it's like a glitch basically that everyone knows how to do, but it's really hard to do. And they actually made it harder, because what you could do is you could bind jump and crouch to the same key, and it would do it every time. Well, they updated the game very quickly and removed that ability, but you can still jump and crouch at the same time. You just can't bind them to the same key. But if you have like external software on your computer, like a ton of gamers do, you can just bind you can just bind those keys together on the external software, and it does it anyway. So all they did was make it harder to do this thing arbitrarily that's clearly broken. Instead of fixing the broken thing, they just fix one of the ways to do it. So they've been promising vaulting for the longest time to fix all these jumping issues and everything. As far as I know, it hadn't gotten anywhere. There's been no progress whatsoever since they first showed it months ago. I haven't heard any word on them implementing it at all. I don't know if they'll ever implement it at all. They've showed off a new map a bunch. So maybe you'll get a new map that'll also be just as broken as the old map. So that's exciting, because what they do is they rip assets off of I think that game's on Unreal.
Unreal 4, the Unreal Store.
There's like Unreal Store items where oh, you can get a factory or a house and all this pre-made stuff. They just rip it out of that and they put it in
royalties
the game.
For that.
They pay, it's like what you do is if you're a model builder, you upload it to the Unreal Engine and then they pay you to use it in their game, I guess, or maybe Unreal pays the modders. I don't know, but
my specific question is it a flat fee? Like, am I licensing it for my game, or if I put your little dinky model in the most popular video game in the world, am I paying you continuously?
I have no idea. I doubt it's a continuous thing. It's probably more of a base payment. But the problem with it is okay, you rip a model of a cargo plane into your game. It's a crashed cargo plane that's cut in half, and it's the spawn area of the people. If you play PUBG, next time you play PUBG, go inside that crashed plane and look at the size of the characters next to the seats in that plane, because you can stand
very obviously not.
You can stand in the seat plane, and the top of your head is even with the back of the seat. It's ridiculously huge. It's totally off scale. The houses and all of the buildings and stuff are a little bit wonky with their scale because they just ripped them from this thing and didn't do a good job of implementing it into their game in a way that made sense. There's invisible walls in certain areas where you can't go through these two columns in this factory because there's a wall in between them. And then if you go into the Unreal Store and you look at the original model that they used, there was something there that PUBG then removed, but they didn't remove the invisible wall. So there's still that object in the game, it's just invisible. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to make games, and they're never going to improve PUBG. And they're probably... I don't know how big their team is, but I doubt they've hired...
If I was PlayerUnknown, I wouldn't improve PUBG.
Well, yeah, why would you? You've sold all your copies. The only incentive you have to improve it is to sell crates to people, which, hey, maybe you can make a ton of money doing that, but you've already made a shit ton of money. Make your next game. Go ahead. Make PUBG 2. Everyone will buy it.
They will.
Everyone will buy it.
Yeah. People would actually just go all in.
But release it in early access, because then when everything's broken and Skippy...
That would be amazing if they released PUBG 2 early access before PUBG 1 was out of early access.
I could see it. The point is, you release it in early access so that when Skippy complains about it on his stream or something, you can get all your little defenders to come in the chat and say, well, the game's not complete yet. They're going to fix it. All those problems you're talking about could be fixed. It's early access.
I can't believe you're shitting so hard on a game that tells you it's not done.
You unplugged your microphone completely in your rant.
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Though. Well,
I think it just recognized, how software these days is this is signal, this is noise. When I just heard machine gun fire of angry PUBG fan, it just canceled it all out.
Yeah, that game makes me mad because if it was a well-made game, it would be so good. Instead, it's a very poorly made game, but the best of its type by a large margin. And it's still, it's a fun game. You're allowed to have fun with bad games, but it doesn't change the fact that it's a terrible game and that you should not defend the developer of this game for not knowing what the fuck they're doing and not fixing it.
And for real, they don't need a defense force. They're doing fine.
Absolutely not.
They're doing okay over at PlayerUnknown.
So, fuck PUBG. But I'll probably play more of it. It's still a cool battle royale thing. It's still fun to drop onto an island with 100 people and fight to the top.
Fun.
Yep. So yeah. I Have I been playing anything else? I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
I don't want to, because it's already been running pretty long, but have you seen the new Blade Runner movie?
Yes.
What did you think of that?
I liked it quite a bit. It's definitely better than Blade Runner.
Oh, you think it's definitely better?
Definitely better, because I actually went back and watched the original Blade Runner after I saw this one. And I'd seen it. I've seen Blade Runner a few times before I saw it recently, but I
liked it more too. I'm just not so confident about it.
I like Blade Runner, the original. I love certain things about it. I love the introductory scene of Blade Runner where it's playing the music and it has the outline of the city. It's amazing. It's incredible. The whole first scene of that movie is amazing. And the whole last scene of that movie, the whole showdown with the bad guy is amazing. But those are the two best parts of the movie, and everything in between is kind of like, oh, this is slow and boring and not a lot happening, and there's not a lot of plot. It's just kind of atmosphere ending. I love atmosphere though, and I really like the atmosphere it's going for. So like, I can't hate Blade Runner. I certainly would never call it a bad movie, but it's boring. It is a boring movie, and it's it's not as good as the sequel, because the sequel is also super good at being atmospheric. Also has some fantastic scenes that I love, but on top of that, it is a movie. It has a structured plot and characters that you care about in a way that Blade Runner does not. So I do like it more.
It's got drama going on between characters, a mystery, a villainous presence. It's got all the ingredients for an exciting movie, and it's just executed so well. Like, that director is on fire. He's not made a bad movie.
Yes.
I actually watched his old movie, Prisoners.
Yes.
That was
Prisoners. I think is it Prisoners? It's Prisoner. I don't know, but it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was rough. A rough movie.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
Rough
you mean it was rough?
Morally,
it was. Yeah.
Rough to watch.
It's good. Enemy.
You
seen that one?
I have. Yeah.
That one's. Oof. That one's weird. I like it.
I liked it. He hasn't made a bad movie, but Enemy's probably my least favorite. It's the most.
I can understand that. It's really out there.
Sicario, I think, is the best.
I watched Sicario over the weekend again. That is a phenomenal movie. It is his best. I agree. I actually think Arrival was a little bit overhyped. I like Arrival a lot. I think it's a very well done sci-fi movie in an era where well done sci-fi movies don't exist.
Right now he is, like, without a doubt the best working sci-fi director.
Oh yeah, like the only one that I care about at all. Like what other sci-fi movies have come out in the last
Alien
decade?
Covenant.
Yeah, I have always been a defender. I'm not saying it's a great movie, but a defender of Prometheus, which gets shit on nonstop. Admittedly, deservedly. I mean, it has plot holes and issues that are inexcusable, that could easily be fixed, and it just was poorly written. But I really enjoyed Prometheus. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's a good movie. I think it does, as far as like directing and keeping me interested and me having fun watching the movie, Prometheus does a great job. I think it has one of the best scenes in the Alien franchise that I've seen, which is the woman going into the surgery machine where it's like a pregnancy thing, and she's getting the alien removed from her stomach, and while she's awake, and then she's like stumbling through the ship and stuff, and it's like so well done and tense and awful that I couldn't hate that movie. It just was impossible for me to hate that movie because it has so many things that I really like about it. So defending it, but not loving it.
Stranger Things 2?
No, I haven't seen it. I don't think I will. I like Stranger Things. I liked Stranger Things quite a bit. I don't think I'm going to see the sequel, especially after hearing what people are saying about it. When Stranger Things ended on a cliffhanger, when the first season ended on a cliffhanger, I was like, oh, oh no, I don't want any more of this. I loved it, but I don't want any more of it at all. And I haven't been hyped up for season 2 or anything. Like it's just like it might as well not exist in my head. Like I don't care about it. I don't want to see it.
It's got some problems, but that is not a concern. Like they basically hit every point they need to, filling in the gap, and some of the stupider parts of that finale.
Well, I just don't care about it. It's not the way that they do the cliffhanger. It's the fact that I just don't want more of it. I don't want to see any more of Stranger Things. Like I liked it, but as it's a contained thing, I'm totally fine with it, and I don't need any more of it or want any more of it. Like
fair.
And what people have said about season 2 is mostly just kind of like, oh, it's good, but like nobody has told me you need to see Stranger Things season 2. Maybe you will.
I liked it a lot.
Okay.
I don't think it's substantially better or worse than the first one. I think it's just as good.
Does it have a good soundtrack?
Yeah, definitely.
That first season, kicker of a soundtrack.
It's got one outstandingly retarded episode, and then other than that, it's just like Stranger Things 1. It feels like a straight up quality sequel, and well, I don't want to spoil it, but it ends on another cliffhanger, but the cliffhanger is so in your face and exciting that it's a good cliffhanger. Because everybody knows there's going to be more of it. And I think they, well, okay, that's about all I'll say.
I wonder, not that I care really, but I wonder how far are they going to go with Stranger Things?
I don't know, man.
Until it becomes a show that nobody likes anymore, like Walking Dead.
That outstandingly dumb episode that I mentioned, it kind of felt like, and other people have said this too, like a hidden pilot or a stealth pilot, and sucks. Like they introduce you to this whole new cast of characters in a different place.
Weird.
Yeah, and they do their own thing, and they have their.
They're doing a spin-off. That's what they're doing.
And it was so fucking bad that I just wanted it to end. Episode 7. Maybe, hey, tune in to only episode 7 of Stranger Things season 2. You will understand exactly what's going on as well as everyone else.
Okay.
It's fucking stupid.
That's weird. Episode 7. That's kind of that's a part of the season in which you might be like really invested and ready to.
It's a 9-episode season, so.
Yikes!
Episode 7 is completely
setting you up for the finale.
Yeah.
Well, are you excited for Lord of the Rings coming to Netflix?
Is it?
Yeah.
I just
that today.
marathon that a couple years ago.
It's gonna be in the Lord of the Rings world.
Oh wait,
but it's not going to be about Lord of the Rings. Yeah,
a new thing. Okay.
Not the movies. I
didn't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that one. I guess I don't really care. Is how I feel about it. But
if it's good, it could be good.
Yeah, I hope it is. I hope it's good. I thought that was really strange, though.
The strangest thing I've heard all day.
Oh yeah. I watched half of Mindhunter. I haven't seen the second half, but I plan to. It's quite good, except for the first season, first episode. You saw the whole thing?
Yeah. You didn't like the first episode?
The first episode was awful.
What was so bad about it?
The dialogue. Holy fucking shit. It's all these characters that are like speaking really fast to each other. Do you remember the scene where he goes to the bar he meets like a professor at the FBI place?
Yeah,
and he's like, hey, go get a drink with me, and they're like having this conversation that is just.
I know what you mean. It's I know he didn't write it, but it feels like an Aaron Sorkin scene.
I was gonna say the same exact thing. My friend said the same thing about it too. He was like, "Yeah, it's Aaron Sorkin. Like it's that like, oh, this dialogue is so witty and fast, and these characters aren't humans. They're just talking at each other in this like really awful." And his girlfriend, that character, I don't like anything that she does or says. I think she's just supremely annoying. But
keep watching.
Yeah, and I like what that show is doing a lot. I love the psychology stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. It's pretty cool. But that first episode turned me off so hard.
Serial killers as a topic are really interesting.
Yeah. So that's a fun one. I've probably seen so many other things that we haven't talked about that I can't think of right now. But I can't think of them. So maybe next time.
Yeah. Guys, folks, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to the thrilling revival of Push to Shout. Tune in again in a couple weeks.
Push to Shout Revival is going to be our band.
Push to Shout is the genre. We'll be a Push to Shout revival band.
Yeah.
Good night, guys.